Oh, we're back, y'alls. We're definitely back. The Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I'm your host, Richard Burns. I've been keeping an eye on the oil market, and there's some very interesting things going on. Very interesting. Where is oil right now? What is the price of a barrel right now? $59.45.
Water.
$59.45, and it was as low as what? $57.93. Okay. So in the past month, it was at $64.48. Sometime around 6 months ago, maybe even less than 6 months ago, it was at $80 a barrel. That's a significant drop. That's a significant drop. Yeah, we're looking at a huge drop. Close to 20%. That's a lot in a short period of time. Because the peak was... Let's check out the peak. The peak was what? I can't get a date on this thing. The peak was somewhere in late January. That was the peak. The price dropped substantially. Now, Trump did say he was going to bring the price of oil down. Drill, baby, drill. He did say that. The question is it because of Trump that the price of oil is going down? MAGA is saying yes, without a doubt. This is Trump. The major oil producers here in the United States wanted nothing to do, and if I'm not mistaken, they sent a letter to Trump stating that they had no interest in participating in this drill baby drill campaign that he had going on. And of course not. You're talking about private companies. You're talking about private companies that are not going to just willfully go against the wishes of their shareholders and reduce their profits. Because that's who they're beholden to, the shareholders. And not only that, they have to operate their business so that it's sustainable. Drill baby drill is not sustainable. This drop in oil price, yeah, there's some people that benefit from this. For example, our consumers here that will eventually be paying lower fuel prices. Yeah. Which is odd during this time because we're right about at the time when gas prices usually go higher. Now, the people who the companies that break down the oil and produce gasoline and diesel, well, they're going to try to see if most people throughout the country are really paying attention to what's going on in the oil market, because if they discover that people are not paying too much attention to what's going on in the oil market, they might be able to get away with keeping the gas prices high enough, and justify it with the usual seasonal increase, because it is the summer season where most people travel, especially when the children are out of school. Wow. Which means that with the oil price as low as it is, that's going to create a huge gap between the cost of purchasing the oil and the cost of refining it to produce gasoline and diesel. They might go that route and let the prices come down later on, like late September. Or they might lower the price, but not as much as maybe they should. It's a possibility. I'm not saying that that's definitely what's going to happen. But increasing profits is a nice goal for a corporation. Now, yes, consumers and countries like India and China will benefit from these lower oil prices. And other countries throughout the world that don't produce their own oil, or don't produce it in large enough quantities, they will benefit from the lower oil prices. Countries like Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, would not benefit, because their economy depends on the production and selling of oil. 50% of their economy is dependent upon that. And you got members of OPEC and OPEC Plus that depend a great deal in the production and selling of oil. Yet, the Saudis have increased and have encouraged other members of OPEC and OPEC Plus to increase their production of oil. So there's an oversupply of oil throughout the world. Remember, oil is a global market. It's not local, it's global. Back in the 70s, the Saudis decided to punish the United States for their involvement or their encouragement of Israel during a war that Israel had back in the 70s. So they decided to apply an embargo against the United States and not send oil to the United States. And if you look at footage, you probably find it on YouTube. You can see long lines at the gas stations. Nationally, the maximum speed limit on the highways were reduced to 55 miles an hour. Not for safety's sake. No. It was to reduce the consumption of fuel. Because the Saudis had placed an embargo against the United States. That's no longer the case now with the technology available, where these oil companies can frack now. Now they're accessing more oil and gas than ever before. So what use will the Saudis have? If they were upset with the United States, what use would they have to create an embargo? It wouldn't be effective at all, because the United States produced more than enough of its own oil and gas to satisfy its needs, and then some. But there's another approach. You can disrupt the oil market in the United States by producing a lot more oil and flooding the market and causing the price to go down. If you do that, then the oil producers here, the American oil producers, are going to have a problem. I think at $55 a barrel, I don't remember the exact amount, but there's a certain price point where the smaller producers of oil and gas will suffer. And if it stays at that low price long enough, these smaller producers are going to have to close shop. The banks that loan the money are going to get hurt, because producing oil and gas is expensive. And these smaller companies depend heavily on loans. We're crossing into Pensacola, y'alls. So by lowering the price, and if the price keeps going down, if it goes down to $40 a barrel, then the big boys are going to start to get hurt. During Trump's first presidency, it did go below 40. In fact, the futures market dipped into the negative. And it caused an incredible amount of turmoil with the oil companies here. The surviving Koch brother poured money against Donald Trump in this last presidential campaign. Billionaire in the oil sector. His first time around, he poured money into his campaign. Second time around, or third, he poured money against him. I guess he didn't forget what happened Trump's first time around, when those futures prices went negative. Caused very serious problems. Very serious problems. So with these prices going as low as they are, and on top of that, you got the Saudis and OPEC and OPEC Plus ramping up production, you gotta wonder what's behind all that. Because OPEC and OPEC Plus don't benefit from these lower oil prices either. So is this some kind of move to hurt the United States? It's definitely destroying Russia. Destroying Russia. Russia desperately needs for the barrel to be sold at $70. Yet, it's way below that. They are suffering. They are suffering terribly. It's looking like Ukraine is going to win this conflict even without the help of the United States. Kinda, sorta crazy. There it is, Pensacola, next 3 exits. Shout out to the professor who has family in this area. So I spoke to my home slice, my home bake, who's another truck driver. Now he picks up at the port in Savannah, Georgia. This week, there's supposed to be a smaller amount of containers being delivered to the ports on the West Coast. So, my homeboy's on the East Coast. And that's not supposed to happen until late this month. Maybe the 3rd or 4th week of this month. Then the ports over here on the East Coast are going to start seeing fewer containers. But guess what? My homeboy told me it started already on the East Coast. Yes, he was in the port and noticed that there were a lot less containers than in previous weeks. Now he's getting an extra day off because there are no ships coming into the port and dropping off the containers, or fewer containers are being dropped off. And it wasn't supposed to happen till the end of this month. So I don't know what to tell y'alls. I don't know what you're seeing in the supermarkets. I don't know what area of the country you're in. How are the shelves looking? And are you being honest about what's going on? Are you being fair about what's going on in your supermarkets? What's going on around your way? Well, this situation with the oil has me kind of bugging out. Because if the price of oil goes down as much as it has been, the response should have been to cut back from production to make sure that the price doesn't continue dropping, and hopefully it begins to rise. But instead, the Saudi and OPEC and OPEC Plus are increasing production. That's weird, y'alls. That's just weird. Is there a political motivation behind all this? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, except whoever participates in any meeting with the Saudis. With that, I'm gonna let you guys go so you can have fun. So stay fresh and keep it profitable. Yeah, let Kitty come in.
Arabam Dacia, seviyorum çift kalem maça. Göremedi kimseden fayda. İşler